words within regards to a famous rabbi. We're talking about nearly 450 years ago. His name was Rabbi Aaron ben David Cohen of Ragusa, very famous rabbi. He was born approximately around the year 1580. It was reported over, and much has been documented within regards to him. He was, I think, came from an area called Lunella. I believe it was reported over. Now, his maternal grandfather was a man of the name Solomon Oheb, who was also a rabbi inside that city. It's inside that specific vicinity in itself. I think we've mentioned him maybe before on this series. I think if we look back at the long playlist that we've got over here, there's much related within regards to famous rabbis, which we have dealt with in previous times. Not much recorded online about Rabbi Oheb, but he was definitely a famous rabbi of his time. Okay, so that's very interesting. So let's just progress. So Rabbi Aaron would study, I think, in his native city, and later in Venice. When he went to Venice, he would return there. He returned to occupy, let's say, a pulpit in Ragusa, very, very prominent position. Ragusa was a famous place. We mentioned various different great chacham that actually came from Ragusa, or one named, let's just say, the Rabbi of Ragusa. I think it's around the Sicily borders, if I'm not mistaken. And this was very, very important, let's just say. Now, much more can be described within regards to that specific window of time when he was there, especially inside that place. There was reported over to have been, I think, while he was serving in the city, I think several Jewish people were accused of a blood libel. I think, unfortunately, we've heard the famous blood libel before, on many occasions before. And he would be imprisoned because of it. And he was seen as an accomplice, as I say, a supposed accomplice of Isaac Yeshurun, who had been falsely accused of this ritual murder, let's just say, this blood libel in of itself, which obviously, unfortunately, we've seen all throughout Jewish history, many shocking anti-Semitism that actually took place. I think this was associated with taking the life of a Christian girl, once again, and they were imprisoned for a period of time. The libel ended, and there was a release of various from the prisoners, and it was following a direct order, I think, from for their release. He would actually write, Rabbi Aaron would, a story and document this libel in a specific, let's just say, document. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was actually named. This was the Maaseh Yeshurun. This was this is chronicled over in various places. Also, which I would recommend everyone to, I think Ziv Galili would actually document this in someone on that point in time. He would then afterwards, I think, go on to dwell in Venice over there, and he would become a Magid Misharim, let's just say, over there. He would give drashot over there and the prominent position. He would write down various different shivot, answers various different questions, halachic questions that was grappling that specific town in that specific day. Remember, we spoke about this area on various occasions here in the series, and we see how important, what importances were going on that point. He would work also as a sofer stam, a scribe, writing tefillin, mezuzot, sefer Torah, and so he would be taking on various different roles, especially in the Judaica business. Much of his responses and rulings, I think some of them did not get printed at the end, some of it was lost. And he would, I think, be working in various other fields within regards to mitchazek, to strengthen the Jewish community at that specific period in time. I'll say what it says here. Shimesh ksvestam b'sifro hu mevi et sa'aro al hitnatzurotam shel rabim manusei Sfard. He talks about, I think in his book, talks about the Anusei Sfard, where many people were forced, I think, to convert to Christianity. I'll say it in the Hebrew, what's actually quoted. Sheesh mehem rabim she'enam yodim shem mezerei Yisrael v'chen shechen she'enam makirim et bora'am. Many people left the faith, and they didn't realize that they were Jewish people that were forced into conversion at that point in time. So we actually chronicle this over about the sorrow he would express within regards to that. And he really hoped that many of them would return to Judaism if they needed conversion, and so on and so forth. And he said that there were many who have discovered their Jewish origin and did repent at that point in time. So apparently there was at that stage in time, that window of time, there was many people would actually return to religion. He would exchange letters with another famous rabbi we've spoken about on various occasions before, Rabbi Shmuel Abuhav. Remember Rabbi Shmuel Abuhav I think was born about 30 years after he passed away in the year 1694 himself. He was a famous rabbi. He was a posek. He was a great rabbi in Venice, in Italy. Rabbi Abuhab, rabbi we've spoken about on various occasions before. I think at time period of his Hilula, I think he was also from Germany, but he was from Portugal and Spain. And I think he was part of the Jewish community, the Keter Torah synagogue. He was actually a Talmid of Rabbi David Franco, who was also another great rabbi. And he was, the main rabbi of the Jewish community in Venice, I think, in the year 1650, where there was many different, Torah importances sent him. And he himself was in contact with Rabbi Shlomo ben Aderet. There was Rabbi the Rashab, Rabbi Shlomo ben Aderet. He would study his teachings and teach this also. So obviously, Rabbi Aderet was from 300 years before. He himself was the author of various different great Torah colossal works, which we mentioned about before in that video, including Devar Shmuel, for example. I think the Chidah, the famous Chidah, would bring him down inside his books. He was very, very famous rabbi. I think he was against very much the Sabbatean movement at that point in time. He had Talmidim, various great Talmidim, and great children that became rabbis also. But we're going on a tangent over here. Let's just go back to the great rabbi we're speaking about today, Rabbi Aaron. So more can actually be added within regards to the great Chacham, Rabbi Aaron, Meragoze, great rabbi. He authored great Torah books also, I think, including the Zaken Aaron. This was on top of the other book, the pamphlet which we mentioned about before. This was on his book, I think, of Rav Shlomo Oav. I think the Shemen Tov was very much connected to that. And I think at the end of this book will feature some piyutim, poems that were written. Then the Masir, which we mentioned about before, which talked about the blood libel that actually took place at that point in time, and the horrors within regards to it, unfortunately, the anti-Semitism all throughout. And I think it was called Maaseh Nisim. There was a later printing, if I'm not mistaken, way later on, in Heitav Kuf Nun Hey, I think right at the end of the 18th century. This was in Venice. That would actually talk about this important, topic itself. There's much more we can say within regards to him. Also, to be precise, Zaken Aaron is translated to Aaron's beard. I think that was actually featuring some of his grandfather's sermons also, who was a great rabbi. And the Shemen HaTov, the good oil, which was the history of Isaac Jeshurin's martyrdom, let's just say, it was published in 1657 in Venice after he passed away. And I'm not sure exactly when he passed away. Apparently, Rabbi Aaron's account of the alleged ritual murder, together with documents from the Ragusa archives, were published in the year 1882. It is chronicled over, I think, using the Jewish Encyclopedia. Actually very much talks about this, and also the encyclopedia will actually mention once again about the blood libel that actually took place at that point in time. But was a famous pulpit rabbi of Ragusa. I'm not too sure exactly how many years he lived, but he had a very it was a famous rabbi without doubt of that specific point in time. I recommend everyone to learn more within regards to him. I think there's in the otsar.org, for example, there is features within regards to him. There's also auctions within regards to some of his writings, including Shemen Tov and Zaken Aaron, if I'm not mistaken. I can actually see on the Kedem auctions on the internet, where it just talks about its commentaries. The Sefer Shemen HaTov and the Zaken Aaron also features commentaries on Torah, including the Passover liturgy, the Haggadah Shel Pesach, Rosh Hashanah prayer. There's poems and piyutim also featured within regards to this. This is actually taken from Rabbi Shlomo Ohev, his grandfather also, and he was also a famous Kabbalist. We have to add on Rabbi Ohev was, and I think that it was in different hands. It was signatures added from other great rabbis, including Rav David Tveli, if I'm not mistaken, and I think there was other great rabbis that were mentioned at that specific point in time of the previous owners of these documents. I think that actually stood about at different points in time. So it's a Sifrei Kodesh. Recommend everyone to look about it. It's featured in the Kedem auctions also, and I think if you go in the National Library of Israel, they actually have some of his recordings also from that specific window of time, which I recommend everyone to look at and to learn more about. Now, friends, we're a community here. We're learning about famous rabbis of yesteryear. If you descend from any of the great Chachamim we are speaking about, please send me an email now. I would love to hear more information from you and really appreciate it. And if you feel anyone is interested in watching any of these videos, please share these videos also to other people. We are nearing a staggering 7,000 subscribers, which is absolutely phenomenal. And please subscribe, enjoy, take care, and have a fantastic day. Recording from the city of Bet Shemesh, friends, and thank you very much for watching.